I'm Alex Peake, and I'm here to talk about Code Hero and the idea that game code literacy is planting the seeds of STEM. I'm going to begin by going through just a few of humanity's worst investment decisions, both in terms of time, money, and focus. Quite possibly the worst investment decision in human history was the decision not to back Democritus. So Democritus showed up in Athens and said, you see, the world is not made out of, only one element, or earth, air, fire, water. He said there's these things called atoms, and they have different properties and their shapes. He basically had the right idea for what paved the way for modern chemistry. But he said, I came to Athens and no one knew me. The only thing people knew about Abdera was it was a place where you laughed at people, because Abdera meant obdurate, which is the word we get now from stupid people, because they didn't like Democritus and his ideas. In fact, they didn't like him so much that Plato said, if I could find all the copies of Democritus' ideas, I would burn them. And he was committed to the idea of the Platonic allegory of the cave, which is a beautiful story, and it sounds really good until you think about it and you realize he got it exactly backwards. And he passed this on to Aristotle, the idea that the illusion was physical reality, and you had to go beyond physical reality or deny what your senses tell you. So he gave us one really good thing, though, which is a tradition of these special schools where the smartest people would get together and agree on how stupid atomic theory was. And unfortunately, it didn't last for long, because finally some people started to see through the cracks, and they started to look using their senses and using nature. So Galileo comes along, and he looks at the universe, and he says, I see something that is contradicting the church. It must be my senses that God gave me that are correct. And the popes didn't like that very much, and so they rounded up all the people that were teaching, even Aristotle's physics was too heretical, and they said, teaching these so-called natural laws is heresy and must be punished by death. Wrong decision, because Pope Johannes the 21st was crushed by the force of gravity when it collapsed on his head in 1227. Another guy who really had a great thing in front of him that almost did the trick, Napoleon was offered this submarine to break a naval blockade, which he didn't realize at the time, but that was the purpose. And he said no. He turned down the Fulton submarine, and he got blockaded by the British fleet and was defeated. And he spent the rest of his life on Elba, and he then tried to get them to build the submarine to come and rescue him, but it was too late. There's an idea that came along that should have changed the world, but didn't. And a guy named Charles Babbage came up with a thing called the difference engine. And the difference engine is downstairs. This is the most holy moment I've ever had, going up and walking up in front of it. And the difference engine had all these gears that computed before computing was possible. It's the best way to invent things, is don't let anyone tell you it's not possible. And he built this little tiny model of it, showed it to a few people, and they said, okay, well, we'll give you some money for that. So they at least tried to invest in it. But about halfway through, a seventh of the way through construction, he said, hold the presses. That other thing that's costing way too much money to build, forget it. This is the thing. It's called the analytic engine. And he met this young lady named Ada Lovelace. And when she was 17 and was first being brought to society, she walked into this parlor and saw this and started hearing about this. And she came up with this. This is the first software code ever written by a human being for a general purpose analytic engine computer. But something went wrong. You would think that we would have the difference engine, Bruce Sterling and William Gibson would be historians instead of science fiction writers. But there was a thing called discrimination of different types. One of the types of discrimination was discrimination against new ideas that didn't have an immediate use to the crown, so they didn't want to back it because it didn't make money. And the other was the discrimination against the education of young people who were the wrong sort. And Ada was a woman, so she couldn't even publish this, the first source code, in her own name. She published notes at the end of a male scientist's work. So this discrimination is probably the worst invention, and we've invested a lot of energy in this. And I'm going to talk about how this is obsolete. Unfortunately for Babbage, he said, another age must be the judge. And what we must judge is not obviously computers, which have been successful, but discrimination, and whether we're going to continue to put people in educational gulags. Now, the basic goal of education, or any kind of teaching of young people, is capacity building. You have, the enemy or the forces of nature, and you're up against them, and you have to get everyone sort of swimming in the right direction so we become stronger. But there's this problem. No matter how hard we try to work, it seems like more money, more problems. We have more challenges today than we had before, even though we have all this science. And the basic solution is really obvious, and it's one of the things we can thank Plato for. Teach young people. If we hack the upbringing of young people, we can get to a place where we're all coming up with good ideas and not just looking at people with these wacky ideas and going, I don't think so. Now, hacking upbringings is happening. You're going to hear later about hacker spaces. Hacking upbringings has been going on in hacker spaces. Our power level is over 9,000. It's actually over 900 planned spaces, 500 operational. And the idea of the hacker space, be excellent to each other, is spreading. We've got huge billboards inciting people to come and invent stuff at their local hacker space here in the Bay Area. Hack the Future is our first experiment, many I'm sure around in the world that I don't know about, to take this to kids. We have mentors like, here's me teaching Unity 3D game development with Code Hero, which I'll show you later, next to Ada Alcorn, who invented the first hit video game, who did it with soldering iron, because there were no general purpose computers affordable at the time, next to Yash, who's 12. I said, do you want to make games? She said, no, I already made 40. I said, 40? Man, I got to catch up. I want to be you when I grow up. And this is the event. I'm going to skip the video, but it's a huge success. Come check it out, participate, and spread it to everywhere. We have mentors and people making stuff. And they made video games, and it's growing. So I discovered when I was trying to teach large groups of kids that you can't scale. So I was trying to teach X, Y, Z. They say kids can't do 3D. I say, well, there's something wrong with my kids. They're doing it. Maybe they're mutants. So I'm trying to explain X. X is left. Y is up and down. But how do I do Z? And so I go like this, and everybody dies laughing, and now that's our canonical explanation for X, Y, and Z. But still, this is not a very scalable technique. And shouting at large groups of kids is not mentorship. So the goal is to do it with games. Why games? Because games like Minecraft are proving that people can get endlessly engaged in a beyond Lego-like activity. People have built Babbage engines, the difference engine, in Minecraft. You have to see this stuff. But there's a type of game that really proves that this could appeal to everybody. And that's Portal. And Portal, you play with physics. It's not real physics, but you're playing with it. So we've taken this with Code Hero into the realm of code. It's basically Portal with a code gun. You shoot JavaScript. When it hits the target, it evals in 3D. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. So we were in stealth mode, but it didn't work because we went to Maker Faire, and Mark Fraunfelder came over and gave us an Editor's Choice Award. We weren't even registered. We were just helping with Mitch's booth. And so we got into the Wall Street Journal and Slashdot and Singularity Hub and all kinds of good stuff. So Code Hero is a game that completely upends the idea of learning in school for computer science and says you shouldn't teach kids programming if they're good at math. You should teach kids programming, and some of the ones who are good at programming will also like math. Our basic goal is to make all knowledge playable, and we call this goal GameBridge Unidiversity. Games are a bridge to make university universal. And Unity happens to be the name of the 3D game engine that we teach it with. Now, the real goal, if you've read The Diamond Age, is the primer. Neil Stephenson elucidated it perfectly. He said, you have to make a game that, just like nanotech in The Diamond Age makes things atom by atom, you have to make people idea by idea, one meme at a time through games. And our real goal here has to do with the whole fate of civilization and STEM and science. We have to plant the seed of STEM in every mind to achieve full literacy for humanity, starting with code, not because everyone should be a coder, but because everyone, once they learn code, proves to themselves they could do anything. And we are planting the seeds of STEM by teaching people game programming. This is the team of Hack the Future. It only takes a small group of insane individuals to prove something can be done, and it was a huge success. You can get involved in Hacking the Future. You can volunteer with it. I recommend checking it out. The Code Hero beta is now available, so if you sign up, you can get the beta, and I'm about to show you the beta, and you can play with it outside. And the most important part of this beta is downstairs, the difference engine. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how code is a gateway into hacking, hackerspaces, and science and activism. So the goal of hackerspaces is to teach people to be excellent to each other. And the goal of Code Hero is to teach people that they are excellent and that they're capable of much more than they perhaps ever believed possible. This is Code Hero. I also made the music. And so it starts off, you're a tester and you work for Primer Labs. Convenient, huh? And you get the hang of the controls, and you look outside, everything seems normal, and there's this computer, and you just click on it, and it says, type the following exactly. And this is actually a difficulty test. Kids don't type the symbols, they just type hello world. It just says close enough. What's your name? So let's say it's Princess Nell.
Welcome to my world.
There's no time to explain, just follow instructions. So we can say no, because you shouldn't.
Never mind where you are.
Doesn't take no for an answer.
It's what you have to do that counts.
What's going on? Things are not what they seem. Graphics are illusions. Behind everything there is code. We're not in the Matrix anymore, Toto. By the way, that code, that set texture code that's moving, is the code that makes the texture move. If you look at it long enough. and it's code all the way down. This is the API. This is the nexus. This is the Hogwarts University of Code Hero. And who else to be your first rightful teacher?
Hello, my name is Ada Lovelace. I am called the Enchantress of Numbers because in 1862 I was the first programmer of the first computer, the analytic engine. This is the world of Codex, and your training to master code begins with the languages of the land, JavaScript and UnityScript.
So we immediately give them a choice. If they're super into the science of it, they can go right into syntax and the hard stuff. They really want to learn about 3D, they go into UnityScript, and they're applying JavaScript in 3D to the world's best game engine, Unity, which is free, and they can make their own games with it. So this teaches them
every object in a 3D world is positioned at a particular point called its transform position. Points have 3 numbers corresponding to 3 dimensions. You can move an object by changing its transform positions X, Y, and Z.
And I shoot the code to move Y minus 4. The Y is up and down. And I get a gold star.
Enough block of code and a place to execute.
You can move the world. Move up. I copy this. I move this object up. Same idea, but instead of a minus, I change it to a plus. Now, I change from Y to X. X is sideways. I'm moving sideways. And we deliberately make that one really slow to force them to try to like open this up and make it go faster because you can edit the code. And so that was easy level.
Excellent.
Suddenly they've got the code editor and it tells them to start editing code, and they have choices, and they have to actually change the code. So this says, move these things to the same point on the x-axis. So we change x to 22, and we get a bridge. And we are told there's nothing more to see, but obviously there's secrets. So we use this loop, we get a staircase, and we change the 5 to a 10, and we get a complete staircase, so we can go up to the top. Now, we're doing this because we want gold stars. Gold stars are very important when you play video games. Whatever the achievement system is. How many people here think gamification is kind of cheesy? It should be about intrinsic reward, about really getting stuff, right? So we make fun of that.
Why are you going up there?
Can you turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear it better? So she says, why are you going up there?
Oh, you think there's a gold star up there, but what's so special about that one? I'll give you 10 stars not to get that one.
So she's like teasing us, right? So we're like, okay, 10 gold stars, here we go.
You're not ready to handle that many gold stars. It would spoil you. You wouldn't want me to inflate your star currency and devalue all the stars you worked hard for, would you?
So she's saying stars aren't what's valuable, it's the knowledge that's valuable. Now I'm just going to skip to the final test. This game has to give you a meaningful test to prove to yourself that you are a hacker. And so it's called FizzBoss. How many people here know what that's an allusion to? The final JavaScript test is a loop. Print the numbers 1 to 100. If it's divisible by 3, 5, or 15, substitute FizzBuzz or FizzBuzz. FizzBoss is that loop turned into 100 angry robots. So you get a briefing in this battle room, and now Ada's got a military hat, and she's the admiral of numbers.
Defeat 100 FizzBots. You are here.
So we're going to fight 100 FizzBots, and we're going to have to reach Code Hero Hall by earning it. You don't go to Code Hero Hall as a fan to worship icons. You go there as a worthy person. And to defeat these 100 robots, you're going to have to do the impossible. You're going to get past shields, which will block you.
Find another way to bypass them.
The most important thing to realize is that what this game is teaching you is not the particular code that it's teaching you. It's teaching you what you need to be a scientist.
The mission may seem impossible, but impossible is what coders do.
Impossible is what coders do.
Start taking names.
So what we do is we trial and error it a bunch of times until we progressively get better at it, and we finally write this code, and we crash the game with code. You don't need the reflexes at first to try to shoot these things, and it takes too long. But when you master it, you don't have to dodge bullets. You defeat FizzBoss with code. And what this means to the player is that they have proven to themselves they can do a difficult coding problem. And this is where we actually engage them to learn about who Ada Lovelace was and to learn about who Charles Babbage was. Not so they can just worship these people, but so they can put their life on a trajectory to be the next one. And this is the Code Hero Hall. The point of Code Hero is that you are here not just to get recognized by Ada, who says good work, but you're also here to find about all the other Code Heroes. Alan Turing, Claude Shannon, Grace Hopper, and you're going to learn about them and do quest for them. And Charles Babbage
Charles was the father of computer
He
hardware
invented
as well as
computers,
the
so we should
software.
pay some
He
respect to
designed
that
the
too.
difference engine and analytical
So,
engine, which I
Your
wrote
overall
the first
mission
program for.
is to download Unity.
Camanti is the
This is the
chief
guy who made
technology
Unity,
officer
and to make your own
co-founder
games, and the
of
game
Unity,
teaches you how to do
the
that.
engine that powers the
Your
world
goal is
of
to ship
Code
something
Hero.
real.
Joachim
Steve Jobs
started
crashed the whip,
writing
even though he didn't
core
write code.
Unity
He
as
was
a
the ultimate
teenager,
whip cracker
and
for
now
code.
Unity
He made it
truly
happen.
unites. Congratulations
You have to
on
earn a
passing
place
FizzBoss
on the
training
real
and becoming
artist's
Code
ship
Hero.
as a
I am
ship
the captain
officer
of the
by
real
proving that you
artist's
actually
ship.
have the
The ship
follow-through
is
to
for
make
Code
something.
Heroes who finish their projects.
And I'm just going to
This
end
is
with
where
Charles,
you get to make
because
your mark
he's
and make
downstairs.
something worthy of
The
going
work
under
that he
your
gave
name
his
to
life
replace
to do is
aspiring
downstairs.
Code Hero.
And
Your
what
mission,
Ada says
make
is,
something with Unity that you are proud of. Be it a level for Code Hero.
we're going to
a new
learn
game
about
of your own.
what
A
Charles
game
did,
asset you think.
and that, hold on, here we go. So that what we saw up until now is software, but where did the hardware come from? How did computing become possible? This is Charles Babbage's workshop, and these are his plans, and this is how he built the difference engine. And I don't have the voice acting done for him, but he says, I designed the first computer, the analytic engine, but my regret was never finishing it, and it makes me so happy that people took it up upon themselves to make this difference engine and to make it real. The analytic engine now is beginning construction. There's a group called Plan 28 that wants to do it, and I would be so honored if you would help with that. But what I really want to see is what you will do, because the world that I imagined that would be possible with computers, the world where nothing can be restrained from us, which we imagined to do, is now yours. Make something with it. And he teaches you the fundamental concept, 2 + 2 = 4, does not equal 5. Freedom means the ability to pursue our ideas and getting the help to build them. And so he has you actually construct the adding mechanism of the difference engine and set it into motion. And this is what we need to do as humanity. We need to be firing on all cylinders, and we need to be hacking the future. So if you're interested in Code Hero, hacker mentoring, or other ways of making games that will bootstrap humanity's STEM breakthroughs of the future, I just want to leave you with a couple of words from Luke Nosek. He was at the Foresight Nanotech 25th anniversary, and he was asked, why do investors only back these like 1 or 2 year get-rich-quick schemes? And he said, if you invest in exits instead of in 10-year breakthroughs, you're not a real investor, you're a trader. And what he meant trader by was to humanity, because that's what we're really all investing our time and our energy in. So if you want to invest in the kind of spirit of this sort of stuff, like, back it. Make this stuff happen. And the most important resource we have is our children and our own lives. So let's put those to work. Thank you.